How's it going, guys? And today we're going to be taking a look at a bit of a newer WWE game, and that's WWE 2K19. Now, this is a game that I've noticed online gets a lot of hate, the 2K series in general, except for 2K14, which we've already done a retrospective here on this channel. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out. But this is one that, yeah, has a really negative reception for some reason still to this day. A lot of people don't really seem like they care for this one, but then there's a segment of fans that do like it. And I gotta say that during my experience with this one, I really was a fan, and for a while I avoided it, kind of agreeing with the naysayers without even playing it. And after experience, I have to say, this is why I don't typically listen to fan bases, and if I want to play a game, I usually will. So without further ado, let's delve into this one. Let me tell you what I did like, what I didn't like, and you guys could make your own opinions if you haven't yet played this one. So guys, without further ado, here's my retrospective of WWE 2K19. So before we really get started here, I think it's important to note that this was the last WWE game developed by Yuke's. And we all know how that turned out for WWE games the following year without saying. So, with that said, this was a pretty good send-off for Yuke's, and I don't think they got the credit that they deserved, as I mentioned earlier. They really got a lot of hate for this game, and I really like the way that they handled this game. It wasn't as simulation-based as previous games. They slowed things down. They're definitely not as speedy, fast, and arcadey as the SmackDown games of old. And they're not as fast even as the SmackDown versus Raw games, but I kind of like that. They kind of went for a more realistic approach, but it doesn't feel slow like a tortoise. It actually feels like a very comfortable speed. And the gameplay works very well in this game. It's a different control scheme. Things feel a little bit different. They kind of seem like they took ideas from the previous SmackDown vs. Raw games and SmackDown games of old. By tapping the grapple button while holding a direction on the left stick, you will perform a weak grapple move. If you hold the grapple button while holding a direction on the left stick, you will get a strong grapple move. If you just tap the grapple button, you will enter into a grapple, and then you can press the grapple button again while holding a direction on the left stick to perform another grapple move. And if you hold the grapple button while in the grapple animation, you will perform a submission move. So you will see that there are different elements that are going on here, and they did try to change it up. Also returning from previous 2K games is the reversal limit. And I kind of like the idea behind this, but I find it to be quite annoying, so I end up turning it off. But there are certain times in the game when you can't turn it off during certain gameplay modes. Also, something new to the game is payback, which is something that you can perform when a meter fills up at the bottom of the screen, enabling you to perform certain functions like added damage, recovery, or even low blowing your opponent. So this actually really reminded me of SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 and all those different abilities that you could perform, and they were very unpopular there, and it seems like this feature was a bit more positively received because it doesn't seem as imbalanced as it did in that game. So that's good that they managed to sort of find a happy medium there with adding extra abilities for the wrestlers. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this game plays, and I don't really have a lot of major complaints. This is kind of something that has been going on in the SmackDown series of games under Yuke's for as long as the series has existed. There's always been small changes and tweaks. We've always messed with the grapple buttons and the control schemes. One thing that was pretty cool that they did is they kind of made it a little different to perform a rear grapple. Kind of strange that they don't have like a waist lock here where you could just go from a front grapple into a waist lock. Instead, Instead, they have a strike move that's mapped to the right analog stick, and you'll basically punch your opponent in the face and they'll go reeling, and then you can quickly grab them from behind, or if you have a rear finisher, it makes it a lot easier to perform. So I thought that was something a little bit different for this series. It felt refreshing, it looks good, and it plays real smooth, and it kind of adds a little bit to the speed of the game without actually speeding up the movement of the characters on screen. Now let's talk a little bit about the roster in this game, and to me, I have to say, this is probably one of the most stunning rosters that you will ever see, without a doubt. I mean, it is just absolutely glorious. It is huge. It is massive. This is one of the things that it doesn't get a lot of credit for. I mean, this is truly stunning just how many wrestlers they packed into here. There's not really a lot of people missing, even in the way of legends that you would want to play as, with the exception of Hulk Hogan, really. There's a few others, but we'll talk about how you'll be able to create them or download them online, as long as you're still able to do so, as long as there's online support for this game, which is running out quick, which is also why I wanted to put up this retrospective, this review, and tell everybody about that as well, the great community creations options that you have here. But stunning is the roster. You have 252 wrestlers all together, and there are actually a lot of people that you'd want to play as. Now, you have many members of the current roster. You have John Cena, of course. You've got Daniel Bryan. You've got many versions of Daniel Bryan, as a matter of fact. You've got 5 versions of the man. You've got Dean Ambrose. You've got Seth Rollins. You've got Roman Reigns. You've got the Hardy Boys. You have Randy Orton. You have so many to choose from. And you could even unlock many wrestlers, many legends to be exact. You've got Macho Man, you've got Sting, and not just Sting, but you've got Sting from 1999. You've got Wolfpack Sting with the red face paint. You've got Sting, the Sting that was in WWE in 2015. You've got the Ultimate Warrior. You've got Vader. There is so many. You've got Scott Hall, NWO Scott Hall, and Razor Ramon. Kevin Nash, and not just Kevin Nash, but Diesel. There's just so many options here. And many of them actually look great, even though they haven't been face scanned. The only one I will say is Edge looks like a total abomination. I mean, this Edge is just pathetic. This is lousy. I mean, obviously he didn't get face scanned, but I have seen that, you know, Edge looked terrible even in WWE 2K18, and they still had this guy looking like this. This is a trash model. I do not like this at all. I mean, you know, come on. Edge looked better. You could go back and look at my reviews of SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 and 2011, and Edge looked heads and shoulders better than this. But thankfully, you could go to Community Creations and you can download a really good current-looking Edge. Okay, now, what are we doing here with unlocking some of these? We're going to talk about how you make money in this game, which is VC, and you know, you gotta say, well, of course, you know, at least this is not play to win, it's virtual currency, but it is really annoying just how hard it is to get currency in this game. You really have to grind big time for it. And you can get this money by playing 2K Towers, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That's kind of the way I really recommend that you get currency in this game. Don't do it through exhibition matches. You'll be there all day, folks. But I think they could have toned it down a little bit. You've got to play hours and hours. I actually had to play this game for like over a month, really, to unlock everybody. And I think that's just a bit too much. I know they want you to play this game and they don't want to make it really easy, but after a while, you know, you kind of want to just have everybody unlocked. But there is a bit of play to win, but it's optional. Oh, okay. So what's this all about? So we've got a little bit of Star Wars Battlefront 2 going on here. Oh, you want to unlock those characters a little bit quicker, do you? Alright, well, pay $4.99. Yeah, it's only $5, but if you do, you can buy the accelerator, which will make it a lot easier to unlock your favorite wrestlers a lot quicker. Now, that is bullshit right there. Come on. So you have to set these lofty VC goals for these wrestlers to be unlocked, but if you pay... Oh, this is not downloadable content. Don't even call it that. That's an insult. That's not content. That's a farce. That's a scam. And they damn well know it. I mean, come on, 2K. You damn well know that that's a load of bullshit. And not only that, but are you kidding me? Are you telling me that I have to buy Rey Mysterio and Ronda Rousey, who had already been with the company since Royal Rumble 2018. Yet this game being released in late 2018, I still have to buy Ronda Rousey? I have to download Ronda Rousey? I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Look, I realize that I could have been smarter and I could have pre-ordered this game, but look, I'm buying this one 2 years after it was released, and I kind of want to play as her, but I have to download her if I want. And for main stars, that's unacceptable. Bobby Lashley as well? You're telling me that I actually have to pay for Bobby Lashley, who also, like Ronda Rousey, was there all year. The DLC should be reserved for wrestlers that didn't quite make it into the game. And what you can do is you could download people like Mike Kanellis, Lacey Evans, Maria Kanellis, and also Undertaker from 2002. And this Undertaker right here, I mean, this is just plain lazy. I mean, there were times when he wore plain leather pants, but is he really coming out there with a blank fucking shirt? Doesn't say Dead Man Inc., doesn't say anything on it, doesn't say Big Evil. Once again, Community Creations has to come to the rescue and make an actual decent Undertaker. And the funny thing is, you can actually find the Dead Man Inc. logo if you go to edit the Undertaker's attire. So I think that that really is unacceptable. But overall, I can't really say a whole lot bad about this roster in general. I mean, you've got Stone Cold, you've got The Rock, you've got Kurt Angle, you've got Triple H, you've got some of the greatest of all time here that you could play around with, and you really can have any dream match you want. I mean, this is just an excellent roster. This is one of the best rosters that I have seen in a wrestling game since No Mercy. There's some of the best of all time here. I just really wish that they had Hulk Hogan, but Community Creations does a great job, and I will mention that here as well. Community Creations is just amazing. There is so many great looking cars for you to download. I got myself an amazing looking Karrion Kross car, and I also downloaded this amazing looking Hollywood Hulk Hogan one as well. Oh man, I'm just swooning over so many of these amazing looking cars. I mean, there's like, you could just get anybody that you want here, and it's just kind of breathtaking to say the least. I mean, you can really fill out this roster with truly some of the best of all time, and even some of really not the best of all time. You could just download people from other promotions. This was really a lot of fun, just, cruising around in Community Creations and just seeing what's available. And people, there's so many talented people out there doing this, and they're not even making any money off of it, and it just looks so good, some of this stuff. So much time and dedication, people scanning logos and face scans into the game just to get these things looking just right, and they're just so good. I mean, I'm showing you some of them right here. I mean, there's some really amazing looking fucking stuff here, and I can't put it over enough. I mean, they just look phenomenal. Also, I gotta mention the arenas in this game, so they give you some pretty good ones. We get the old SmackDown arena, we get the Raw is War arena, I would have liked to see some other iterations of the Raw arenas, specifically the one from 2001. That would have been nice, but we've got this old school one, which is from circa 1997, which is pretty good. And we get a really good looking Nitro arena, but also Community Creations gives us the opportunity to have some really stunning looking arenas as well. Some people have made some phenomenal looking sets. You can also have the SmackDown set with the fist. You can also download the Raw from 2002 arena, which is really nice, and I like that one a whole bunch. You could get the Thunder Arena, a great WCW arena. And I found a really great TNA Asylum arena. And this was really fun to have some TNA matches in there and have AJ Styles versus Jeff Jarrett. So as you can see, there is just so much to love about Community Creations. It's just fucking phenomenal. Alright, so let's get into the gameplay modes here. And I have to say, one of my favorite things to do is do what I did back in Just Bring It, and that's do these big, massive battle royals with multiple wrestlers in the ring. And I just cannot believe that it's almost over a decade and a half later, and this is the first game to put more than 6 wrestlers in the ring at once. We're finally back up to 8 wrestlers, and I love doing these battle royals, you know, just putting a championship on the line, just going at it. It's just so much fun. And I don't get it. I realized that there was slowdown when they did it back in SmackDown, Just Bring It, but we went the whole entire PS3 and 360 era without doing more than 6 wrestlers, and we had to wait several games into this generation of consoles in order to do it. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I get that the graphics are more advanced and everything, but the hardware should be more than enough to handle all this. I mean, how is it able to handle NBA games and MLB games and NHL games, but somehow, some way, they just can't handle the wrestlers in the ring? I don't get it, but I'm happy that it's back. But anyway, let's talk about the showcase mode. And this was brought back finally after 2 games not having it, and I don't know why they thought that this was a good idea. I don't know why they just suddenly turned against all fans such as myself that don't really play this game online and don't do the multiplayer, but they play it for the single player experience. So to have a showcase mode, to me, was extremely important. And here we get Daniel Bryan, and you know, this one, I have to say, it's interesting seeing it being recreated. This was a bit of a different take because all the other showcases were pretty much spanning history. The last one they did was on Stone Cold Steve Austin, so that stuff happened many years before you got to the game in 2K16. Here, you know, we're just talking about a few years ago. I mean, you know, it is kind of cool that Daniel Bryan introduces these segments, so I really can't knock it. It's really well done. It's good presentation, as you expect from a WWE product, but you put this together nicely. We start with Daniel Bryan and John Cena on Velocity back in 2003, and I really like that. And we also get an excuse to have the Velocity Arena in the game, which I was a really big fan of, and I used that quite a bit. You'll also go through Daniel Bryan's NXT run. You'll wrestle against The Miz at Night of Champions and Team Hell No. His match with John Cena at SummerSlam. And also at this big moment at WrestleMania 30, winning the world title. Even Daniel Bryan's return in 2018 at WrestleMania. So we get a lot of Daniel's big moments, and they do some nice coverage here, and each match that you go through has different objectives if you want to fully complete this mode, and some of them are kind of annoying, and a lot of them led to me losing, especially the one with John Cena at SummerSlam. That one is tough. Even on normal, playing this game for the first couple of hours. You know, I wasn't really well tuned with the countering, and here you can't turn off the reversal limits. So you're really limited here and having to do different things that you normally wouldn't want to do in a match, like such as the chain wrestling, which is kind of pointless. I mean, it plays into the mode, and, you know, I could see why they'd want to implement some of these objectives, but they do. They get in the way, and they end up making you lose a lot of times. I can't begin to tell you how many times I ate an attitude adjustment and went down for the count because of it. Overall, I mean, this is a nice little showcase mode, but it's over and done with before you know it, and it sort of is a joke when you compare it to WWE 13 and 2K14 and those amazing modes we had where they showed us WrestleMania, 29 years worth of it, and then also the incredible Attitude Era mode in 13. I mean, there's just no comparison there. So you might be saying, but, you know, Brad, didn't you say 2K19 was great? Well, I gotta tell you, the MyPlayer mode here is quite the little mode here. This is the career mode, basically, and this is kind of where the meat of the game is. And it was a lot of fun. So you create your wrestler, and the one knock I have here is that you're limited with the amount of materials that you can create your wrestler with. Very frustrating. So you have like a very generic outfit, and the thing that doesn't help is throughout this mode, as you play matches and progress through the story, you'll earn tokens which you could use to purchase new pieces of clothing as well as new moves for your wrestler. And to me, this was just too slow and too annoying, and I never unlocked anything that looked really good that I wanted to put on my wrestler. It was just like endless amounts of crap. So really, for the remainder of the story, I mean, I added a few new moves to my moveset, but as far as my appearance, I just kept it as is because everything else just looked a little bit too stupid, and I just wanted to kind of keep my wrestler kind of looking like me, and nothing I unlocked was really doing it for me. So I kind of didn't like that, but this story, I had a lot of fun with this. This is a pretty well voice acted, well told story about a wrestler that starts off on the indies in BCW with a returning character, Baron Blade, acting as the promoter for said indie promotion. And you're kind of like his protege, you're a son to him, and there's another annoying wrestler there called Cole Quinn. You know, this guy always is looking for a new gimmick, and you become friends, and he goes his own separate way, and you end up getting a job with WWE, but it's just really not that simple, and that's what I like about it. You're out on the indies, and I really like how you have this whole outside arena that they add into it. This is pretty cool. And you see Albert, Matt Bloom, coming to give you a job, and he introduces you to Triple H, and you have a dark match before Raw, and you get your ass kicked by Braun Strowman. But everything seems to be good, and you look to be on your way to having a career with the WWE. But this guy attacks you in a mask, and you're blamed for causing a fight with him, and it ends up getting all over social media. There's a video of it, and everyone's seen it, and Triple H just does not want the bad publicity, so the deal is off, and he tells you to head back to the indies. But Baron Blade decides that he wants to turn this into a happy situation because everyone saw what happened on social media, and that's going to put butts in the seats at the BCW events. So he affectionately gives you the nickname Buzz, which is a name that sticks with you through the entire career mode. And Baron starts streaming the events on pay-per-view, and BCW is growing in popularity. They even book a show at the Manhattan Center, but Triple H gets the show shut down, saying that they own exclusive rights to the venue, and this greatly pisses Buzz off. So, your friend Cole and yourself, you conspire to invade NXT, and this is a really fun part of the game. Actually, this little NXT portion kind of goes on a little bit too long. I kind of found that to be a little bit dragged out and annoying, but that's besides the point. This was a lot of fun to see this play out, and you can choose how you want to invade. Do you want to invade as the NWO? Do you want to invade as DX? Well, you can choose, and you'll wear the appropriate outfits that go along with that faction. So you really start to get under Triple H's skin, and then he devises a plan where you go one-on-one with your masked attacker, and you unmask him at the end of the match. And who is it? None other than your mentor and your father figure, Baron Blade. And this is quite the little story, quite the little swerve. I really like this. And then Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan show up, and they offer you a job, and you head off to SmackDown. You'll end up going to Raw eventually, and you see all the little twists and turns that happen there. There's always elements of drama, and you'll end up facing off against John Cena, Randy Orton, The Miz, and they carry these rivalries, and there's a great sense of continuity. You make a relationship with AJ Styles. Oh yeah, and before we move on, what about John Cena's voice? Apparently John Cena was not available for voiceovers this time around, and we get this guy.
You see, I've been around for a while, and so many times I've heard all the buzz, and then when it comes time for me to actually see what's behind the buzz...
Whoa, I did not expect that, but wow, not the best replacement there for John's voice, but if he wasn't available, I understand. My favorite part, though, of this whole entire story has to be the part with Bray Wyatt, and he has turned your friend Cole Quinn against you. And I really like this because you haven't seen Cole Quinn for a while up to this point, so you're really not expecting it. You sort of forget about him. And this was really well done. I like how everything plays out here. And there's tons of psychological warfare. And I really enjoyed the part where you fight on the Wyatt compound and face off against a zombie Triple H. And you get help from the likes of Broken Matt Hardy, who helps you get into the zone and gives you the mental capacity to face off against Bray Wyatt. And you get help from the Demon Finn Balor as well, and you also get to decide what you want to look like as you partner up with Finn and what kind of character you want to be. And I like how they show you like in this otherworldly dimension, and I thought that this was really creative, and it reminded me of some of the weird wacky stuff we would see in the SmackDown vs. Raw series, kind of like with The Undertaker. They weren't afraid to get weird and crazy. This story, mostly everything else, is a little bit more straightforward and not as like weird and wacky. But they did have a lot of fun with these storylines, you could see, and I really appreciate that. So the story kind of wraps up with Triple H setting his sights on you again, trying to stack the odds against you before you eventually end up winning the Universal title. He brings back Evolution, and then Finn Balor and AJ Styles, your former friends, turn against you, and AJ ends up cashing in the Money in the Bank, effectively winning the title from you. They also bring back Baron Blade, and they want him to badmouth you, but when he refuses to do so, and instead uses the platform to apologize to Buzz, things turn ugly and you come to his rescue, and from here you have a decision to make. You could either forgive Baron Blade or you could just walk away from him, not forgiving him. I ended up forgiving him, and things come full circle as you have a WrestleMania match against AJ Styles for the title, and that's basically it. And I think they did a very good job of telling the story throughout this entire MyPlayer mode and the relationship with Baron Blade as you're going from the Indies to WrestleMania, and so many fun little things happen to you along the way. So I was quite satisfied with this career mode. Now, let's move on to the 2K Towers. And this is a lot of fun, and basically you've got a bunch of gauntlet matches with varying levels of difficulty. You can't turn off the reversal limit, which kind of sucks, but you kind of understand why they would go with this challenge. So they have the $1 million challenge with AJ Styles, which at one point you could win $1 million by playing this mode, but of course that contest is long gone. It's also really challenging. You have to go through it on the legendary difficulty. Needless to say, I didn't get too far with this. You also don't recover any of your health from match to match, and you also don't get a second try. Some of these are gauntlets, meaning that once you lose, you got to go back to the beginning. Some of them you can actually lose as many times as you want and still get to try, and your progress saves. Needless to say, I always found these to be a little bit more fun, but I did manage to make my way through some of them, and it's so satisfying managing to win one of these things on the hard difficulty, and there's a lot of fun ones to go through. Just to give you an example, they have one called Randy Savages, and you'll face a number of opponents. I liked playing as Randy Orton and just taking out a bunch of legends. It was a lot of fun. Brutalizing Sting here was a blast. And some of these are quite lengthy. Some of them have like 14 matches to them. But you earn a lot of VC, as I mentioned before. This is the recommended way if you don't want to spend extra money. Play through these tower modes and you'll earn it out the ass, I promise you that. So even though this mode seems like just a collection of matches, it's actually quite a bit of fun, and it's very useful for unlocking all those legends. Plus, they do try to spice things up with stipulations, some of them being really cool, like the dark lighting, and I also like the sped up gameplay. Now, there are some that are really annoying, like reverse controls, which I think are total bullshit, and big head mode is okay. This is like something that's so 90s, and even though I'm a big fan of the 90s, obviously, this is one mode that I've never been that fond of. I mean, it was okay in games like GoldenEye for N64. It's old school, but I mean, come on. And who the hell thought it was a good idea to have these 8-bit graphics? I mean, this is not 8-bit graphics. This is just annoying, and I can't even see what the hell I'm doing. So, a lot of these are misses. Credit to them for trying to spice things up. And these are available only in 2K Towers, except for the big head mode. They let you play with that one, and I don't see too many people selecting it, I'm gonna guess, and I know that I don't. But overall, fun mode. I really do like 2K Towers, and I did spend a lot of time here, but it was mostly due to the fact that I wanted to earn some VC. So I'm going to talk about one more mode, and that's Universe Mode, and this is the mode that started all the way back in SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, and it's even worse than when it was in that game. In WWE 12, this mode was pretty fun and had a lot of surprising moments, and it played out like a WWE program would, and there was some surprises, run-ins, but this one just feels really bare bones, and the promo minigame that they added to this one, I don't get it. You're supposed to finish your promo quicker than the other person, and I was just left saying, like, what is this supposed to be? I played through one show and I just about had it with this one. I mean, I see that there's rivalries that build on the show. There's percentages, and you could build up to a rivalry, and that will change how things play out. But I don't know. This one just did not do it for me. It seems like they tried a few different things, but for the most part, it just did not pull me in. And usually when I'm not having a good time, I'm just not gonna keep playing, and I had already experienced the superior parts of this game, so I was like, I'll just put this one to the side. So as you can see, I really enjoyed this game for the most part, and this might not be the greatest WWE game of all time, but I have to say, as far as a Yuke's developed game, I had a lot of fun with this, and it kept me playing. I had a lot of fun with the MyPlayer mode. The Daniel Bryan showcase wasn't bad. It had a good presentation, and I just generally liked the gameplay, and the game is really great to look at. I think the community creations gives this game a lot of longevity. You could download a bunch of wrestlers and add them to your roster, and you can have all sorts of dream matches, pair that up with the arenas as well, and you've got a recipe here for one of the greatest wrestling games in a long ass time. So I don't really understand why people gave this game such a hard time at release, and also looking back on it, a lot of people are very tough on it. You should kind of know just how great this game is, especially when looking at a game like 2K20. I think this one has a lot to offer, and it's got a tremendous amount of replay value with an enormous roster. So if you guys, listen to the Peanut Gallery and you didn't give this game a try back in the day, I say, trust me, I think you'll enjoy this one. If you're a fan of wrestling games and you like to have some good gameplay that flows pretty well, I would really recommend this one. So guys, let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Did you like this game? Have you never played it before? Do you hate this game? Let me know. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And thanks to all my patrons for your continued support. And I will see you next time.